The Middle States region is an unusual blend of rural and urban. It has forests of pines sweeping down to inland lakes, green pastures where dairy cattle thrive, cornfields and prosperous farms, grain elevators where the harvests are stored, stockyards crowded with cattle fattened in the corn belt. And it has crowded freight yards, great steel mills, factory production lines, and bustling cities. All these reflect the wealth of the Middle States of our nation. The Middle States form one of the 6 major regions into which we may divide the United States. There's much overlapping of these regional boundaries. 8 states are included within the region: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Missouri. In the late 17th century, pioneers came down the Ohio River from Pennsylvania and neighboring states. After 1800, settlers of Puritan descent began to arrive from crowded New England. Immigrants from Europe also sought homes. First came the English, Irish, Dutch. Later, the Germans and Scandinavians, who settled in the west and north. And then, with industrial growth, Italians and Slavs came to the Midwest cities. By 1840, this domestic and foreign migration had swelled the region's population to 3.5 million. By the 1950s, to 40 million, over 1/4 of the nation's population. 1/4 of the region's people work as farmers. 1/4 work in trades, services, and professions. And more than half of the region's people live in cities. As a whole, the Middle States rank first in the number of cities over 200,000 population. Certain economic areas within this region overlap its state boundaries. A heavy concentration of industry borders the lower Great Lakes. The great corn and hog belt lies across the center, including most of the soybean belt. A hay and dairy region extends from east to west. These economic areas are the key to the region's resources. The agricultural resources of the 8 states. From the extensive hay and dairy belt comes 1/3 of the nation's hay crop. In this region, where milk and its products are a major source of income, dairy farming is performed on a large scale by modern methods. Utmost care is taken, for example, to keep the dairy barns hygienic, and up-to-date equipment helps keep dairy farming on a mass production basis. From this region comes more than half of the nation's butter and more than 2/3 of our domestic cheese. Wisconsin alone produces half of the nation's total cheese. In the corn and hog belt, fertile glacial soil, abundant rainfall, and hot summer nights make ideal conditions for raising corn, over half of the nation's supply. Some of the corn goes to feed and fatten the hogs raised here, 1/2 of the nation's output. Corn that is not fed to livestock in the rural areas is shipped to mills and processing plants, where it is cleaned, hulled, and ground, and made into a variety of products, such as industrial alcohol and acetone, cornmeal, feed, and other foodstuffs. In recent years, soybeans have become an important crop, raised in much the same area as the Corn Belt. Soybeans are used extensively on the farm for silage and are also made into products for industry. Industry is just as important to the Middle States as farming. Much of the region's prosperity comes from the industries largely concentrated south of the Great Lakes. The high productive capacity of this region was largely made possible by its vast resources of coal and iron ore. Coal, mined in Illinois and Indiana, feeds the steel mills and factories. Iron ore for the steel comes from deposits up in Minnesota. The Vermilion, Cuyana, and Mesabi ranges supply most of the nation's needs, although an increasing amount is imported from Labrador and Latin America. Shovels load the iron ore for transportation to the nearest port on Lake Superior. There, from the long docks, it's loaded onto the barges that will carry it to industrial centers on the Great Lakes, where the ore will be converted into steel. Transportation facilities play an important part in this region. The ships that ply the inland waterways made by the Great Lakes serve both farm and industry. A network of trains throughout the Middle States link distribution points with sources of supply. Fleets of motor trucks rush goods to shipping points. And there is a complex airline system. Transportation of every kind serves this region, which stands at the crossroads of our nation's commerce. To supply the needs of other regions, the Middle States send out the products both of the agricultural community and the industrial city. Its exports reflect the balance of its economy. Out of the Middle States go oil and oil products, and farm machinery and equipment from such centers as Chicago, Moline, and Peoria, on their way to agricultural areas throughout the nation. Out of the Middle States go automobiles, almost our total national production, on their way to be sold throughout the nation. Out of the Middle States go furniture and a large variety of miscellaneous manufactured goods. But the Middle States must import many things. From the Northeast, machine tools, small manufactures, woolens, shoes, and money capital. From the Southeast, tobacco, coffee, and cotton textiles. From the Southwest, cotton, cotton textiles, petroleum products, and some cattle and hides. From the Northwest, wheat, cattle, sheep, and certain metals. From the Far West, fruits, vegetables, lumber, and motion pictures. Thus, in the goods it produces and exports to other regions and to foreign countries, and in what it receives, the Middle States reflects a unique balance between agriculture and industry. The flow of goods from agriculture and industry have meant money and time to create a life rich in social and cultural opportunity. The chance to build schools in country districts as fine as those for crowded metropolitan areas. As in each of the other regions, typical patterns of rural and urban life have developed in the Middle States region. Well known for its fine lakes and other recreation areas, this region's people have a deep-rooted feeling for their countryside and a widespread interest in the arts. The work of its artists and of famous writers like Mark Twain, Sinclair Lewis, and Carl Sandburg express the region's distinctive tradition. And it is a region with tradition of another kind, of pioneers who blazed the early trails. and of Lincoln, raised here in Illinois, who expressed the democratic aspiration of people of all regions. That government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.